Hey everybody, it's Kneecap here, and in this video we are going to be talking about Retribution Paladin and the reworked talent Divine Hammer. So it completely slipped my mind. I actually got an excellent comment on previous Rep Paladin video to check out Divine Hammer. I asked, things that you'd like me to check out on the PTR or whatever. And I had completely forgotten the Divine Hammer kind of got reworked. I remember when it first did, everyone was like, well, it still kind of sucks. The damage is too low. I still kind of agree that damage is a little low, but I did get some really interesting results, which of course leads to me making this video. So let's go ahead and talk about what Divine Hammer does now. So it's a 1-minute cooldown, so it does kind of align with our stuff. It costs 3 holy power. So before, if you remember, when you use Divine Hammer, it like sucked up your holy power. So you couldn't use your spenders as much because this thing is just sucking away your holy power. Well, now it costs 3 to start, but now has a different effect. So Divine Hammers spin around you, striking enemies nearby for about 70,000 radiant damage every 1.8 seconds for 8 seconds. So 8 seconds base. While active, each holy power spent increases the duration of Divine Hammer for 0.5 seconds, deals reduced damage beyond 8 targets. So every holy power spent increases the time of your Divine Hammers. Now, what is really cool and what we'll talk about here is all the things that work for this, right? And I don't know if it's intended or not, but Empyrean Power, Divine Purpose, and the 4 set for the new tier that lets you just keep spending stuff. I know for sure those work in this. I'm pretty sure Divine Purpose works, and I'm pretty sure Empyrean Power works. However, I know that the 4 set works because you have 4 seconds of that, so it's not as quick, and I was able to kind of track that myself. Again, I always give this on PTR. I'm just one person, so I've tested this out with a few different talent specs. I tested out in Templar and in Herald of the Sun. So I tested out multiple things, but I can't test everything myself, is the reality. But I do want to point out that I did try multiple things with this. And, I tried, I think that everything extends it, but I know that the 4 set does. And if you are like, okay, well, what's the 4 set? The 4 set is basically your 2 set is you get a stacking buff where you do more damage. The 4 set is when you lose your buff, because every time you can gain a buff, you also have a 12% chance to lose the buff. If you lose the buff, you get 4 seconds where you can just do your spenders freely, like your final verdict, let's say. And each one of those that you press, so boom, 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 you're extending your Divine Hammer when you do that. So that's really good to get to extend your Divine Hammer. And what's really cool, and so I'm guessing that they tried to tie this into this tier set in general. What's really cool is you could technically get 1 stack of the winning streak and have it drop off around the very next one. And then you can go boom, 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 and just extend the Divine Hammer again. Now, again, in my opinion, the damage isn't high enough quite for to get that really big effect. Because even when it's popping off, it's not doing that much. Now, I might not be doing everything perfectly because I'm trying to make up the rotation as I go along here as far as this goes. Now, I'm mostly doing the same rotation, but you know what I mean? I'm trying to min-max it in my head without any simulations or other Retribution Paladins contributing at all. So I could be not doing it as effectively as possible. But the damage, I wish the damage when everything aligned perfectly, I wish it was a little bit higher. Now, that being said, the damage was higher with Divine Hammer than without Divine Hammer. So that is important too, because that means, in my opinion, that we might be leaning towards using Divine Hammer in this next patch. For me, what I ended up settling on, so I'm in AoE's a little bit harder, but let's go to a single target build here. So what I must not have saved this. What I ended up settling on is removing Rush of Light and replacing that with Divine Hammer. So for single target, it's pretty easy. I just lose some haste, and then I throw that into Divine Hammer. And of course, the haste isn't as important in this spec or in this tier because of this whole just being able to press your thing over and over again. Now, is that the best talent to get rid of? I don't know. Maybe Empyrean Legacy would be better to get rid of. I'm trying to decide what I mean, there's not that many choices of talents you could really get rid of. But yeah, so that's really interesting as well. This is actually kind of fun to play with as well. So when you're playing this, you're like, if you're tracking your buff, I'd almost recommend getting a weak aura for it. Like we still have a month plus till this patch comes out, but I remember I would suggest maybe getting a weak aura for it so you could see it a little bit better. I was just like looking up in the top of my screen and like seeing how I extend it. The longest extension that I personally got, just no buffs, no anything else, was about 40 seconds. It was like exactly 40 seconds. So I took it from 8 seconds to 40 seconds. And the most important extender for this whole thing that I haven't even touched on yet is your light's deliverance. So when you use, the way I was doing it, again, this might not be the proper rotation, but I'm kind of starting off normal. But after my execution sentence, and then I go to Wake of Ashes. Now instead of using Hammer of Light, I was using Divine Hammer, then Judgment or whatever, and then Hammer of Light into it. That Hammer of Light then extends your Divine Hammer, and then your free Hammer of Light that you get, Light's Deliverance, when you get to 50 stacks and you get the free Hammer of Light, that also extends it with 5 Holy Power. So that is a huge extender. And this is what made Divine Hammer much better on Templar than Herald of the Sun. Because for Herald of the Sun, you do not have the luxury of having that free 5 Holy Power to spend. Because that's when you're going to get the big one. So normally on Templar, for me at least, I was getting like 20-second Divine Hammer. So I was taking it from 8 to 20. But because of this, the Light's Deliverance, I was able, like I said, to get up to 40 seconds. I imagine with Bloodlust and doing everything optimally, like mathing it out, this is what I need to do. I imagine you could probably get up to 50, maybe even a full 60 seconds of these hammers, if you get lucky, of course. You also probably have to high roll. And then you just go right into another hammer after that, which would be kind of cool if that were the case. The biggest issue with that, of course, is going to actually be wasting globals on your execution sentence and your Wake of Ashes. So it's very hard. I barely got it to extend. You actually need to have a couple seconds still remaining. Once you get to that 30-second mark, if you have a couple seconds still remaining, you can execution sentence and Wake of Ashes, and then hurry up and get your Divine Hammer in to fully extend it a little bit longer with that Divine Hammer. So it was actually really cool. It's really fun to play with, in my opinion. The damage might not be worth it, but it was more. So for me personally, again, I tried multiple things. Numbers could be wrong, right? They're all kind of within the margin of error, in my opinion. But with Divine Hammer on single target, mind you, Divine Hammer over Rush of Light, I was getting about 5 to 7% more DPS with that, which is, that's notable for a talent. But it's not really more effort either. It's just kind of enforcing you to play a little bit more optimally, to not waste your Holy Power. It's one thing that's been talked about in this current version of Ret. It's not only really easy to overcap your Holy Power, but it's like fine, because you kind of have all this Holy Power to spend. With this Divine Hammer, you do want to like overcap your Holy Power as little as possible. It's still going to be hard sometimes, especially when you're doing your free spenders from the 4 set. Obviously, like with Crusading Strikes, you're going to be overcapping with that. Maybe the solution is to not use Crusading Strikes. I doubt it, because it's kind of strong. But yeah, and also it's worth noting that Divine Hammer was about 3% of my damage done on single target, like 3.1 to 3.3, depending on when I tried it, which attempt I tried it. And, that's kind of similar to Xpurg. Xpurg's a little bit more than that. That's your dot from your Blade of Justice. So it's like a solid talent, I would say, but maybe it could be a little bit stronger to make it worth like min-maxing your Holy Power like that. Because the reality is, like, let's say you're really bad at min-maxing your Holy Power, then at that point it might not even matter. You might not even need to take the ability, because you're not getting the most out of it anyways. Instead of getting 20 seconds on average, you're getting like 15 seconds on average or something, and then that's not worth taking. So yeah, so that's something to consider as well. I love it. I love the idea of it. I love the way it works now. I just wish that it was either they need to take the 3 Holy Power cost out of it, which I don't know if that's the correct thing to do, Because you can also, since it's a holy power spender, you can use your divine purpose to activate your divine hammer, which is worth mentioning as well, which is actually can be quite good. Now, obviously, if you have a divine purpose and your hammer of light, you'd want to use it on the hammer of light instead of the divine hammer, if possible. But you also want to get your divine hammer rolling, so it has to be going for that hammer of light to extend anyways. So these are all things to think about. It was actually really fun. I messed around with this for a few hours. Like I said, trying different specs and trying different talent setups and seeing for Templar or for Herald of the Sun, I was expecting maybe a little bit different results than I got. But like I mentioned, it's really just not having that hammer of light, that 5 holy power spender, plus a free 5 holy power spender randomly, like every other one basically, every other divine hammer. Or actually, it almost works out to every divine hammer after the first one, because when you start with 0 stacks, you never get there. But it almost, since it's 20, since you can keep it going kind of 20 seconds on its own, you kind of always get one into it. Always is a strong word, but like, so you get that extra extension into it. Which is really nice, like as the fight goes on. But in Herald, you really didn't get that, and so for Herald, I was not getting a ton of value with my divine hammer. And then anytime you do not proc Empyrean Power, or you do not proc a divine purpose or whatever with Herald, you are just completely done, because you don't have any good extendos. Like that hammer of light carries so hard with the Templar and the divine hammer interaction. So yeah, that was really cool as well. We can kind of try to show you how it works, I guess, real quick. I know some people like to see how it works. I'm here on the PTR. I have like no add-ons, no anything here. So I'm here. You might be like, why are you in Shadowlands? I just love this AoE setup the most. When I was doing AoE, I guess I'm in single target now, so we'll go to a solo one, I guess. And we'll kind of show you what I was doing. So I was just kind of like starting the fight off, doing this, divine hammer, toll, or not divine hammer, wake of ashes. And now we're kind of getting a low roll here. The first one is always like your most likely one to low roll as well, because you don't have like anything running yet. You don't have your stacks up yet. I'm pretty sure my hammers have already fallen. So that was like probably a really short one, like a 10-second hammer or something. We also had no procs of anything in there as well, which is worth noting. Now we have a divine purpose. That's our first divine purpose. And then we have our Light's Deliverance, unfortunately. Now we have our 4-set procking, unfortunately, outside of the divine hammers. So this is like a not good divine hammer. We'll go through one more setup of divine hammer here and see if we can get a little bit better luck. It's really nice when you have like a divine purpose set up for it, but so let's do this and this. It is nice that it lines up with your divine toll every time. Okay, so there's a free one. That's gonna extend it. Divine purpose. Oh, we're slowing down here. Oh, there it goes. So that one was only 18 seconds. So that one, again, we didn't have very many procs. Like here's my tiers. The tier set proc really helps a lot. So if you don't get a tier set proc during it, that can be really rough. Divine purpose out of that. Here we go. Light's Deliverance again. And I'm also spending on 3 as much as possible, just because, again, it is so easy to overcap your holy power, that I'm trying not to have too much holy power banked up. I kind of want to try one more time just to see if we get a high roll. If we can get the tier set into it, that'd be really good. So let's see. Oh, there we go. There we go. We got the tier set. We got the hammer. We got the. So this one should at least go over 20 for sure. We got some divine purposes rolling as well. Oh, we slowed down there again. So you got to keep rolling it. You got to keep rolling it. It's really rough. But that one wasn't bad. That was more of like an expected one. But yeah, that's kind of how it works. We'll see here what kind of damage it was doing. Actually, so my damage was actually really good. But that's also because I have these covenant abilities actually. So never mind. I was gonna say my damage was good, so maybe the not breaking the win streak was helping, but let's see It probably was much lower than what it was before. Yeah, so it was only at 2.5%. So that's just the difference between extending it from like the I was probably averaging what, like 15 seconds there, instead of like that 20 seconds. So it's a little bit lower than normal. Xpurg's at 3.2 again. Divine Hammer, in other testing was closer to that number, 3.2, 3.1 to 3.3. And so yeah, that's kind of how it works. Will we be using it? For sure, I don't know yet. We still have a lot of time to go. People, if other people like get in doing this and stuff, they're gonna min-max the crap out of it. They're gonna know how much it's better, if it's even better, all that kind of stuff. One last thing before we end the video for AoE. If you're in full AoE spec, so like Herald of the Sun, Divine Hammer didn't really improve that much. Again, it's hard also with the AoE spec. This is single target. It's hard with AoE spec to get rid of a talent for something, right? So like I currently got rid of Blades of Light for it, but Blades of Light's a pretty strong talent. Even though it's a single target talent, it's pretty strong even when you're AoEing, because you're still hitting your main target, you know? And so that's a pretty rough one. You almost, for pure AoE, I don't know what talent you'd get rid of. So for Herald of the Sun, but for Templar, it's a little bit different, because again, you have that free extendo. You have that 5 holy power extension there. And so for the Mythic Plus build with Templar, right, it was actually still pretty good. So I'll be very curious where this all lands. I'm like positive like other people are going to work on this. The people who do like the simulating will hopefully have all this mapped out perfectly and stuff like that. But my results are that it is probably a little bit better, but given kind of like the effort, given the luck you need to extend it and stuff like that, I wouldn't mind if the base damage of this was just upped a little bit. That'd kind of be my one critique. Maybe just up it a little bit. You don't want it to be like your whole spec, but maybe instead of doing 3% damage, maybe it does like 5% damage if you get really lucky, or something like that, and just make it a little bit of a stronger talent maybe, for like the effort and the holy power min-maxing and stuff like that. That would be my only critique. But yeah, that's where I'm at. So that was a great comment that I got. Like if you ever want me to check something out, just let me know, because the worst case scenario is I'm like, oh, it's not, that doesn't worth my time. But in some cases it'll be like, holy crap, that's actually a really good thing to check out. So that's it for this one, guys. As always, I do ask you to please subscribe to the channel. If you're already a subscriber, I encourage you to check out the Patreon. Other than that, everybody have a good one.